Hello everyone, I am Tina Liddie and I have done some classes here with the library watercolors and dot painting on rocks, and so I'm going to be doing a recorded video for the first time, and my first lesson is going to be this drawing lesson, which will be aired here through the library Facebook site in the next couple of weeks, and I'm going to be basing it on Joanna Basford's drawing style, and specifically from a book called How to Draw Inky Wonderlands. And I've really enjoyed using this book and learning the way that she draws and the tools that she uses. It's a wonderful book. It's available online, and so if you wanted to invest in a book like this that would teach you basically how to draw all kinds of things, this is a really fun way to start. And so I'm going to be using some of these lessons to get you started with some basic shapes and how to put them together to make some fun pictures. And any level could really be doing this. It will just be a question of how much time you want to put into it. I would say it's suitable for children, and maybe they would or would not do as much detail, but you can make it as simple or as complex as you want, and also you can always come back and add things to it later. I may move a little fast at times because I do have a limited amount of time, so if you feel that you need to pause the video so that you can catch up or rewind and redraw a certain element, feel free to do that. I believe the recordings are going to be available for a long time, so even if you miss the live airing, the live showing, then you can come back and watch anytime and as many times as you want. And so I just wanted to say a few things. A lot of people are worried about drawing. They think they can't draw, and maybe that's because they stopped drawing when they were a child, when they started to compare themselves with other people, or worse yet, adults that have been drawing or painting for years and years. And a child will sometimes feel inadequate and stop. But if you keep going and you keep practicing, it's just like anything else. The more you practice, the better you get. And I believe that everyone can draw, and different levels are perfectly okay, and that you can tell by the variety of art that's out there. And everybody has their own tastes and their favorite things, and so please try. I think you'll be happy with your success, and you can always do more and learn more, but basically have fun. And there's a quote by John Steinbeck that I just love, and it's about perfection. We are so hard on ourselves. We're harder on ourselves than we are on other people. We'll tell someone else their drawing is wonderful, and we'll tell ourselves our drawing is awful. So try not to do that. But he said, now that you don't have to be perfect, you can be good. And that was John Steinbeck, and I just love that. Let go of perfection and just have fun. So the materials that we're going to be using today, I think I will turn my little video off that's down in the corner. I just wanted to say hello so that you would know who's teaching. And I'm going to show you the basic supplies that I'm using. Joanna Basford has her preferred tools, but as we know, many of us are not able to go out to the store and buy things. People have a misconception that you need good art supplies to do good art, and that's not true. We could do this whole lesson with a piece of paper and a pencil and an eraser. And I'm going to be doing some of this on copy paper because I think everyone has copy paper. Everyone has a pencil, and I think everyone has an eraser. So I think that we'll be good to go. So anyway, I will maybe say goodbye at the end of this, and now I'm going to get started with the lesson. So I showed you the book that we're going to be using. I just talked about the kind of paper, so I wanted to show you this paper is available at the dollar store. So 75 sheets for $1 is not very much, and it's nice. I really like drawing on it, and the ink pens don't bleed through so much, so that is a good thing. This drawing paper also came from the dollar store. It's a little bit larger. It has a little bit more of a texture to it. And it is also very good for drawing, and especially for practicing, which is what we'll be doing. A white eraser is better than a pink eraser. I just happen to have this package at home. This is a white eraser. It's like plastic. And these fit on the end of a pencil, and they're much better than the eraser that comes with a pencil. So that's really handy to have. I think you'll be happy if you have a good eraser. It won't tear the paper. And this was a little eraser that I got a while ago. It might be Prismacolor, I don't remember. And it has the white eraser, but it's a little smaller and easier to use also. The pen, well, Joanna prefers mechanical pencil, and so I was doing that. Often, most artists draw with pencil first, and then they put the ink on it. Because if they're using pencil, they can erase it anytime they want. If they don't like how a line went, they can erase it and move it. The key to that is sketch very lightly so that you can erase it later. And don't draw hard with your pencil. Draw softly, and then it's easy to erase if you need to. Then later you'll come back over it with ink, and it'll be nice and clear. And then when the ink is dry, you can erase the pencil, and you'll never know it's there. So one way to tell if the ink is dry, say you just drew this fish and you're not sure if you can erase the pencil yet, you can take your hand, make a little fist so you have a little fleshy part, and just touch it and see if any of the ink comes off in your hand. You could even use the pad of your finger. Touch it. If any ink comes off, it's not dry. I like to do all the drawing and then wait a long time before I erase it, maybe an hour, just to make sure. And if you're right-handed, you might want to start putting your ink on this side of the paper so that your hand is going this way, and you don't have to worry about drawing on this side and then putting your hand in the wet ink. So work from left to right if you're right-handed, and work from right to left if you're left-handed. So that's a good thing to remember. You might need a pencil eraser, a pencil sharpener if you're using a standard pencil. And this is a softer lead. It might not be good for drawing if it smudges too much, but if that's what you have, use it. This is a harder lead. This is a HB2. This might be really good. I will go ahead and use the mechanical pencil because I have one. So, this is a Prismacolor Ink Pen. It's 03, and so it's still a fine point. As you can see, that's a pretty fine point. And I like these a lot because you can get good detail. I did try to, well, this part is drawn with a Sharpie that most people have. And this is a bigger Sharpie. If you have this kind of pen, you'll need to do a larger drawing. And I'll show you what happened when I used a bigger pen and then tried to do smaller drawings. And they came out just a little bit too bold. So I couldn't do fine lines, but it's still okay. And this would be nice to come in later in color. And then I tried a little fairy door. But I can't get a fine touch with it. When I used a finer tipped pen, then I could get more detail. So again, use what you have, but if you want more detail, use a finer tipped pen. And if you don't have felt pens, there's nothing wrong with the ballpoint pen. That will work just fine. And if you don't have that, leaving it in pencil is perfectly okay. So I went through her book and I did some sketches of little flowers and some of her little creatures. I did some little sketches by folding my paper into little squares, and that was a nice way to try a little design. There you see my bottle that I enlarged. Now every time I draw it, it's going to be different. So that's okay. And then Joanna provided a book called Flourish. This is available to download if you go online and look her up. This is a free coloring book that she offered to the public, and you can print it out and color it. But it's also good to use as an idea for doing more sketches. So if you are interested in her book, then you might want to just download that and have some extra drawings. I'm going to use some of these thumbnail sketches because they're a little quicker. There are a lot of elements that that you can use in multiple drawings, and as you, let's see, I think the water bottle, no, that actually is not a message in a bottle, is it? It's a boat in a bottle. So I'm going to start with this drawing with the message in a bottle. It's summertime. We would all love to be at the beach. I'm going to do it on this copy paper. The copy paper could be, you can draw and use the whole paper, or if you want to make a card like I did, you can fold the paper in half. Let me move this out of the way. So I'm just using the copy paper. You could fold the paper in half, and then you could fold it again in half. I'm sorry if I talked too much and you got bored of listening to all those words. You can fast forward to the drawing part. We're at say 10 minutes in, and you will be doing this project. So now you can draw on this part, and you'll have a card that you can open. You could give this to someone. You could mail it. Another idea I had was to take the piece of paper, take one piece of paper and fold it in half and lay it on top of another piece of paper, and it gives you a border to draw in. So if you took this piece of paper and folded it in half, and then you put it on top of this piece of paper, you could trace around this with a pencil, and it will give you a border that, I'll go ahead and use my regular old pencil. I will carefully trace along the edge of my cut paper. I did not take a lot of time to make sure this is straight, but that's okay. Now you have a smaller picture within a big picture, and you could do, your drawing could go up like this, or you could turn your paper into a landscape, and you could do it this way. And sometimes when you look at a big piece of paper, you don't know what to do. So sometimes it's good to start with a small one, and then it doesn't seem as intimidating. So the way I'm going to start this is to, so I'm going to do it on the smaller paper, but as you can see, if you put it on a bigger piece of paper, just start somewhere kind of near the middle, or maybe down near the bottom, and then you could put a whole bunch of fish. You could have a whole bunch of fish on this paper by drawing it up there. Actually, I will go ahead and do it on the big piece of paper, but just know that you can, if you fold your paper, you can keep it small. So looking at that as an idea, the first thing I'm going to do is draw the bottle, the jar, with the note in it. And I'm going to do some lines to do the, actually, here I go, I'm going to erase already. And that's okay. I'm going to draw it lower so I have room for fish at the top. This bottle has fallen in a long time ago into the ocean, and it's just waiting for someone to find it. So now I'll make a little curve for the top of the bottle. Then I will draw two lines going up for the neck of the bottle. I'm going to draw a little oval for the top of the bottle, and then I'm going to put a little stopper in it. Maybe it has a glass stopper. And because I want it to look like it's shiny, I'm going to put this little half moon in it. And that looks like the light is hitting it and making it shine. You might want to add a little line on the neck. Maybe there's a shine there. Maybe there's a little shine here. That just shows that the bottle's round. Now, possibly the hardest part of this whole drawing is this little squirrel. So we're going to start here, and we're going to make a little spiral. We're going to go up and then not make it quite as big, and then we're going to end it like that. We're going to go ahead and do this edge of the paper right here. And we're going to do this edge of the paper right here. So what we have to do is finish the inside. So another vertical line where the paper ends, and then another one here. And now we have a piece of paper that's going around. And for the writing, we can just do a little bit of wiggling. But if you wanted to write really tiny, as I'm sure many of you could actually write real words there. I'm going to pretend like there's a sentence of lots of words. Okay, now we need some things in the front of it because it's fallen to the bottom. These are totally fantasy ideas. Joanna loves to do fantasy. So we're just going to make some shapes. Maybe they're sand dollars. Let's see, a sand dollar might have this kind of flower. I think it has 5. And then it would come down. But we're not going to see quite all of it because there's another one down here. And maybe it just has that. I put a starfish in. Let's just draw a starfish. Now you could draw easily by putting a line for the 2 arms. It has 2 legs and it has a neck. And there's all kinds of starfish, but you could go like this and just make sort of an aura around those lines. And then maybe you want a circle in the middle. And that was kind of dark, but I'm trying to draw kind of lightly so I can erase them later. I'm putting little circles here. See, maybe I can move this down just a little bit so that it's a little closer for you. I'm just putting little circles here now just to simulate the little bumps on a starfish. But it's a fantasy starfish, so we can make it any way we want. Oh, we'll do a little circle here. We'll like a half one with a dome. And I'm going to put the hole right up at the top, and I'm going to do some lines and make them curved like a sea urchin. And we can just draw some little pebbles, and later we can put some dots for sand. Let's go over here, put some more pebbles where this is the ocean floor. And we can go ahead and finish this one because it's not going to be in the way of the starfish. Maybe another pebble here, or maybe let's make this one be this little one. So we'll draw a line inside and then draw some little lines like this. If your circle isn't perfect, remember it doesn't need to be perfect. If it's off center, it's going to look like it's tipping away from us. Okay, so we could do a plant here. Maybe we want to have a plant coming out. Now, I had it coming out here, but I see a space here, which would be a good place to start. So I'm going to do like a S kind of shape. It can go any way you want. It's waving in the water. Now, it would be fun to have another one come up and go behind it. So I'll just go up to it and then I'll stop. And I'll go like this, and it's behind it. I like this one. I don't think I left enough room here, so I'm going to put it here because it's my ocean and I can do what I want. And if you've ever watched Bob Ross, you've heard him say that. He was so much fun. And now I'm going to put some little leaves on this. But it's kind of remember, seaweed is kind of soft. So I'm just doing a bunch of scallop shapes, and then I'll do them on the other side. They're a little smaller at the top, and they can get a little bigger. They do not need to be perfect. It's a plant. Plants are never perfect. They do different things. Let's go ahead and do this other wiggly one as well. That one kind of went near the bottom of the bottle, and it kind of went up like this and then kind of waved. And I made these little loopy things, but I did not come to the middle. I just made them be wavy, like kind of like fingers or something. And I think this one is going behind the bottle this time. I'm not going to draw all of it. And then we want to do them on the other side. And this is a big flat seaweed. I don't know if you've seen this kind of seaweed wash up on the beach or not before. It's pretty cool. Here she did something here. I don't even know what this is. It's not a scallop shell, but I liked it, so I'm just going to draw some loops, and they just got smaller. And then more loops on the other side. And remember, if this is going too fast, just pause it and catch up. And then she had just a little circle here. I'm just going to do some little circles. I don't know what they are, but they're kind of fun. They're easy to draw. Maybe I'll draw another line inside of it. And then maybe one more here. So I can bring that together. And then because I didn't draw all of it and I put one in front, you have a little bit of dimension, like some things are in front and some things are behind them. Let's make this one be like this sea urchin style, and we'll have the lines come like this. I'm giving them a little bit of a curve because if I put a little curve in it, it looks like it's going around. It makes it look like it's rounded instead of just straight. But either way is okay. So how about this little snail shell right here? See, I'm going to see if I can get a little closer once again. So this is a spiral. So we want to start, I think that it'll be easiest to start out here and then just go in. So, and I'll make this a big one because we have a lot of space. So I'm going to start on the left side of it and I'm going to go around to the right. Almost like I'm going to make a circle, but I'm not going to match it. I'm going to keep coming in because a snail shell spirals. And then we have to have a little opening for the snail to come out. This snail is inside, so we aren't going to see it. But if it came out, it would look like a snail in your garden, but it likes being in the water. And I'm just going to put some little lines here because it makes it more interesting and it makes it look like it has some dimension. And then we need some little rocks again and maybe some dots for sand. That's all random. You do what you want with that. Okay, and maybe some more and some rocks down here. But we can also do that directly with a pen. You don't really need to sketch that out. So over here, we have some more wavy lines. Let's try something a little different. Let's go up like this, and let's leave a little break so that this one can come and go over it. And then let's continue this one up and have this one go behind it. And then it looks like it's weaving. It's going over and under. And this one is going under and over. So that's kind of fun. And maybe one more that's just going up like that one. Hopefully I'm still on the screen. Then there's a little scallop shell here. And this was very simple. I think I'm going to move it into this space. This is a good space for a scallop. So I'm going to start it down a little bit because I want it to be like a V. And then the top is kind of round like this. And then there's a little small triangle at the bottom. And so the top, I'm going to make scalloped like this because a scallop shell has ridges. And then it comes down. And then these all have lines that come to the middle. They come to the middle like that, and that's okay. It just kind of meets together. If you were going to color this later, you could use colored pencils or even watercolor and come in after you put the ink on. If you want to do that, if you want to do watercolor, make sure that the ink is permanent, or you'll bring black ink into it. So something like the Sharpie, anything that's permanent, or maybe a ballpoint pen, I'm not sure. All right, so we've got almost all the elements. I think we need some more rocks or maybe another sea urchin. And I'm putting this circle not in the middle because I want to bring these lines down at a little bit of an arch so that it looks like a sea urchin. And then a couple more pebbles. and some sand. Okay, so we have basically, this is our drawing. Maybe we need a little more seaweed up there. Okay, so maybe some fish now. I'll move this. And I just drew some basic fish that you might have drawn in school. The simplest way would be to do an oval and then cross here. And then you could just even go straight. You can make the top fin, you can make the bottom fin, you make the gills where it breathes, you make a nice big eye. You could even put a little pupil in that eye and a little mouth. Maybe it has a little fin here. And maybe we're just going to put dots because we don't have, it's pretty small for scales. Maybe we'll put some ridges in the fin and maybe some little ridges in the tail. That's a real simple one, and it's fun to have bubbles. Now, because the bottle is very close to the bottom, we're not going to draw the water at the top, but you could put water at the top if this was shallow. And then maybe I'll try this fish over here, only I'm going to put him over here. And this one, I just made, it looks like an eye. And I made the tail start at these two spots, and I came out. It has a big fluffy tail, almost like a guppy. And then I can draw some little lines using those little ridges. And it had like a fluffy one at the top and a fluffy one at the bottom, and these are like the fins at the top and the bottom, and you can make them as big or as small as you want. There's another gill, a big eye, a mouth, and this one has polka dots. Why not? It's our fish. But some bubbles. Nice bubbles. And then maybe, let's do one really different. I'm not looking at one. I'm going to do a total fantasy one. I'm going to do a big fat fish. And it's also going to be looking up, and it has a little funny little tail. And it has a funny little fin, and it has a big eye also, and a big mouth. Maybe it could have a happy mouth. And it's got a little fin here and a little fin here, and I can't tell you what kind of fish this is. It does need a gill because it needs a gill to breathe. And maybe we could do some scales like this. And I'm doing these little scallops, and then I'm putting these on top. Maybe I'll just do some all by themselves. So who knows what kind of fish that is? But it's in our ocean. And maybe we just have some random bubbles. If you want, you can add anything you want. Maybe you'd like to add a crab, or maybe some little tiny fish. Maybe some long skinny ones. Maybe there's two of them. Just little ovals. Oh, don't forget the gills and the eyes and some little tiny ones down there. So you can do whatever you want for this because it's your drawing. So that's a fun little drawing in a bottle. Now, because I went ahead and made it bigger, this particular drawing, you'd have to draw it all smaller to make it fit on a card. But as you can see, once you know how to draw a few things, you can put them together any way you want and do a new drawing. Okay, so I'm going to do one more. And this one, I want to do the mushroom. I think the mushroom's really fun. And it's not going to be a real mushroom because there's going to be somebody living in it. I do love fantasy art because it's so fun, and you don't have to worry about whether or not it's right or correct. I will go ahead and make my paper a little bit smaller by just making a border. Borders are fun because you can decorate them later. You can have plants or something going up the sides. If you wanted, you could put another border on the outside. These could be branches up the side, which is kind of fun because then if your lines aren't straight, then you could make your border here, that went over. So this border is going to be like a vine, and I'm going to have some branches on it. And I'll just kind of go up, and maybe I'll have a branch here with some leaves. And then I'll go up, and maybe I'll make one more branch. And so we can easily go all around and do that on the other side. Make a little branch. Oh, that doesn't look like a branch. I'll have to do something else with that. And then maybe one on this side, and one on that side. Come down. These are like roots. Why not? We'll make these be little roots, and then we can have some grass here. I'm getting kind of sketchy here. Some people, when they draw, they like to do lots of short little lines, like sketch lines. I don't usually like to do that. I like to just draw and use my whole, like just use my hand and my arm. I can do a pretty straight line just by sliding my whole arm. And again, we're not trying to be perfect. We're trying to be careful and methodical, but we're not being perfect. Nothing in nature is perfect. So I guess I better put some little leaves on these branches, these stubby little branches that I made. They're kind of funny. Maybe I'll make an extra little, let's see, remember I can erase this, so I'll put, and I can erase it now if I want, or I could do it later. They are stubby branches, but so what? And I can erase these lines now. If you put ink, you have to wait. But now I can put, let's see, I can put leaves on it now. I can put a line. These are basic leaves you probably draw on all your life. Oh, and so maybe I'll go ahead and put that detail in all of them. These are very simple leaves. And I think I can erase that, and I can make this be a little more of a branch. And maybe it has 2 branches. And there's one leaf there, and these could have flowers on them as well. And I think I will just, for now, just make this go straight across, and see it is not straight, and I'll do that at the bottom, just so that it's similar. Nothing has to be straight, remember, it's just close. So we'll put a couple of branches here, and we'll put some leaves. And then I can start some leaves and then put one behind it. And I think I want to add one more down here. And the little stems in them make them look more like leaves. Okay, so at the bottom of the forest floor, we're going to have a mushroom. But the mushroom is not going to come out of the edge of the drawing. The mushroom's going to be on some ground. And the ground might have a rock or some plants. So say we'll go up. There's something called the rule of thirds. You want to divide your picture into thirds, not into half. You don't want to draw something in the very middle, and you don't want to draw something coming out of the very bottom. You always want some space under it. So we're just going to start, maybe a couple knuckles up. And I'm going to do, I'll put the bottom of the mushroom, but I might erase it later because I might have plants in front of it. And this is going to be kind of big because we're going to put a door in it because this is a fantasy mushroom. So we're going to have it be kind of rounded like that, and then it goes up a little bit. And then sometimes there's a little wavy thing on a mushroom, so we're just going to draw a little wavy thing like that. And because I already drew these things, I'm just going to, let's see, I think I'll have my mushroom go across like this. Why not? And then I'm going to have it go a big arch. Now we want the top. So it's going to kind of go behind those leaves, and it's going to be pretty big, but not fill up the whole thing. So you're kind of getting an idea now. And this goes inside the mushroom, but we're going to have it look like you can see some of the other side of the mushroom. And so we're just going to put some little lines in it. And this is, if you look under a mushroom, well, they don't go quite like this, but they sort of look like that. They're kind of, they have ridges inside. And then maybe I'll go ahead and put these lines up. Maybe I'll just do parts of them with some dots. I'll put some dots and then another line. Sometimes it's fun to not have a solid line, but to have dots with it. And maybe there's a shadow under here, so I'm just going to go like this, and I'm going to put some little lines for shadow. Okay, so it needs a door. Now, I was looking at Joanna's. She has 2 drawings of mushrooms in her book, and one of them is this little one. This is a very simple mushroom. Tiny little door, a little window over it, a little window at the big part, and a little chimney. That's pretty fun. And then she has another one with more detail. It has a lot of detail. So as you can see, it has lots of windows and flowers all over it. I think those are chimneys. And there's the little curve with the lines under it that we just drew, and this is that little skirt and with the shadowing. And then she has her door with a little doorstep. And so although we have drawn a bottom of the mushroom, as you can see, we may be covering it with some plants. And then some fantasy flowers. She's got a lantern, which is super cute, and a snail on this little mushroom. So let's see what we can draw on this mushroom. But it's our mushroom, so we can put whatever we want on it. But I do like the idea of a little doorstep, so I'm just going to put a little doorstep. And then I'm going to draw my door over it, like that. Oops, I went off. And I see my door looks a little crooked, but that's okay, because it's on a mushroom. And then I think I'll do a border around the door. I have a door frame. Then I am going to put a little handle so that we can open the door. It's not a doorknob, this is a different handle, and this is the little plate that goes behind it. And I'm going to put a tiny, let's see if I can make this a little closer for this detail. I'm going to put a little keyhole, so a little dot, and then a part for the rest of it, because they can lock their door if they need to. Then I'm going to put this little window so they can look out. I don't know who lives in this. And then I'll put like an aura around it. So that's a frame on the window, and it has little panes of glass. Okay, and then because this is a wood door, we're just going to put some planks of wood. And you can make your door be any kind of door that you want. Okay, and later on this would be really fun to color. Okay, and I don't care for how this looks down here, so perfect place to put some plants, because I'm not sure how the end of the doorstep is going to look, but I bet this ends here. I bet that the step comes out like this and comes down, and it probably has a line going across like this. So all I did was put the lines out at an angle and then straight down. Now I have a doorstep, but there's some plants here, so there's some flowers, and there's some like tall grass. And maybe that's the same on this side. And remember, mostly I'm drawing soft, so if I don't like it, I can erase it. And this is going to have something else here. So this would be fun to have some, well, okay. Everything that we can do is fun. They did have a little lantern here. So, but she has a lantern coming out of the stem. So there's a little switch plate. And then it arches out like this. And then it has a ball for the top. It has a little cap like this. It has, then we make this line come out and it comes in like this. So it's basically a rectangle. Then we have the glass. Then we have another little rectangle. And then we have the bottom of the lantern, which is just the other half of a circle. We're going to put a tiny little candle in it. So there's the candle. And the flame is like an upside down teardrop. And it has some, it's burning, so we're going to make some marks to make it look like it's shiny. And some of that light might be coming outside as well. So now, if they want to come home late at night, they'll be able to see. On this side, I'm going to put a little mushroom, like a little baby mushroom. And there's the little skirt. And here is the bottom, and it's going to be one that kind of goes up a little bit, like that. And we can put some little lines here. Oh, sorry, I'm off the, I wasn't paying attention and you can't see what I'm doing. And wow, we're almost at 45 minutes, so maybe this one is the one I'll put the ink on so you can see how I do that. And this one has some little polka dots, but I wanted to put the snail on it. And remember, we did a snail already. We're going to go like this. This circle that's part way, we don't go in. We make the little opening for the snail, and the snail comes out and has a little round head, and then it comes down, and the snail is like crawling on the mushroom, and there's the tail. The eyes come out here. The eyes of a snail are not on the head. Their eyes are sticking up like that, so that's kind of funny. And then we can still do these little lines around it, and that's how it gets out. Okay, so that's just funny. Maybe some windows here at the top. We'll just do some quick ones. We'll do the same kind of arch like we did on the door, and I'm going to put a frame around it. And I'm going to put a cross for the window panes, and maybe I'll just do one more window. These could almost be dormers if you knew how to make them look like they were sticking out. So there's two windows, and we can have a little mushroom chimney coming out, so when they have if they have a fire inside, they can have a mushroom chimney. That could have some little polka dots on it too. What else can we have? How about a caterpillar? So we can have, well, we can draw the little head, and it might have some antennas like this, and then it's going to be looking up, but it's going to be crawling and then going up and then touching, and then there's the tail. So if we wanted to make it all with circles, we would just follow that line. This could be the body. There's lots of different ways. You could just draw it like more like a worm. This would work for a worm also. It would work for a snake, maybe. but we're not going to put a snake on top of our mushroom. Not today. All right, and then so actually it might only have some legs right there and right here. And then if you wanted to make this a fuzzy caterpillar, you could put little fuzzy things on it. And again, this would be fun to color later. And I think it might have an eye right there. That's up to you. Okay, so now we have a caterpillar. So I guess what we need to do, I'm going to move this again so we have a, well, actually that will work okay. Let's put a few things down on the ground in front because we left a lot of space. Maybe there's a pathway. Maybe there's a little pathway. And we'll make it kind of wavy. And then there's probably some grass and plants. Maybe we'll have a flower. Maybe we want just a little daisy flower here. So you can do like 2 little leaves here and a stem, then draw a circle. And I sometimes do 5, sometimes I do 6 petals, sometimes I do as many as I want. Maybe we want a fern. So when we did the seaweed, it was a lot like a fern. Maybe we want it to come up like this, and it has pointy leaves. So we'll make a shape that comes out to a point, and they're very close together. And then on the other side. They're a little smaller at the top, and then they get bigger and bigger as you go down. And remember, you can take any of these elements and put them together any way you want. So that would work as a fern. There were some bluebells that were real pretty. They could come from here. Maybe we'll put a little circle up there, and then we could have little flowers hanging down. And so we could make like almost like the shape we use for the windows, but we can make this flare out, and we can have some lines there. Remember, we can put some dots on it. We could have some little stamens hanging out. And so we could have several of those. Oh, I forgot, we should probably put a little circle at the top. And then you make your upside down U, and then you can kind of flare it out and make some little petals coming down, and you can put the stamens. You could make one longer than the other. And you could put long skinny leaves on that. And this one probably should come like that. And there could be a long line through it. Maybe one more, and it goes over the front of the mushroom. And so again, you can erase that. You can erase it now, or you can erase it later. So those are kind of fun flowers. And maybe we'll just do some quick bigger flowers. If you draw a circle and then put a dot at the top and the bottom and a dot at the sides, and then put a dot in between those, then you can do, let's try to take the top one and connect it to the side one, and let's make a wiggle. And then take the next one and make a wiggle. Oops. It's a wiggle, but it wasn't the wiggle I was thinking of. Like that. I'm kind of dipping in. And then I'm coming and I'm kind of dipping in. And then I'm coming out and I'm kind of dipping in. So you can have your flower shaped like that, but what if you just make that round and now it looks like the petal is curling in. It looks like the petal comes up and curls in. And you have these dots, you can put some lines there for the middle. You could put extra ones. You could also have dots on some of them. So that's a fun flower. And then you could have a leaf coming out, but maybe it's also on a stem. And maybe it has leaves like this. And so another fun thing is you can also make a line like this and it looks like your leaf is curling up. And you can do fun things with your leaves as well if you wanted to. Sorry if I forget to look up. Sometimes I get so involved in my drawing that I forget to look up and see what I'm doing. So that would be a fun flower, and then maybe if there's one more flower here. So maybe I'll just do the 4, and I'll come up 1 with a wiggle, out with a wiggle, out with a wiggle, and out with a wiggle. And don't worry if your wiggle is wonky, because that's okay. And then I'm going to make it round, and I'm going to put my lines, maybe a dot. So that looks similar. It's not exactly the same, but it looks similar. And then maybe there's a leaf there, and maybe I'll just have another little curly Q. And then the walkway is probably little pebbles, so I'll just put some little pebbles on it. And I think that was where the doorstep was. Okay, so now we have it done. Now the only thing left to do is put ink on it, and I will probably run out of time for that, but I think you can figure that out. You still have lots of place to decorate. Maybe some of these flowers would be pretty on the top. That's what Joanna did. I'll show this again. You can look at, I'm gonna pardon my arm. You can get a better idea of what her picture looks like. And remember, you can go online and print this out yourself if you want, but it's so much fun to draw it and make it your own. So there's the lantern, there's the snail and the mushroom, but we put them in a different place. I didn't do most of those flowers, but you can do your own flowers, but she put flowers on the top. You can do your own flowers. And then I would just take my pen, and I like my Prismacolor pens. I like my Prismacolor coloring pencils as well, but this is my pen. And so this one is .03, close to what she uses. On a big picture like this, you could use your fatter Sharpie. A thinner Sharpie with a fine point Sharpie would be better. This is too big to get the little details. But if it's all you have, just don't put quite so many details in, or draw even bigger. But because I'm right-handed, I'll start to the left, and I don't want to have my hand going all across. So, I don't want to start at the bottom and have wet ink and then put my hand over the wet ink. So I'll start at the top. On copy paper, it's probably not going to be a problem. But we're going to say we'll take this little mushroom and we'll just draw over it. When you put ink on it, it really changes the look of it. And if you don't follow your lines, remember they're guidelines. So I went off there. I'm going to go ahead and put this little thing, and then I can make it look more three-dimensional. But I will put my little dots on it. And you can put extra dots. This is where you can get creative and have fun. So the big mushroom part, it goes behind this leaf. And then I just kind of use my hand. See, I like to draw in one motion, and I don't sketch. I draw in one motion. I put my arm on the table. I start here, and I just let my wrist swing, almost like I'm using a really big compass. And I just let my arm swing. If you really needed help drawing a curve, you could take, this won't be the right shape, but this is a lid. You could just draw around the lid. You'd have a very nice arch. So you always remember that you can use other tools to help you do these drawings. And because I won't be able to do the whole thing at once, sometimes I'll go to where it meets another line. Because when I start again, you'll see it'll make an extra dot. So I'll go all the way up to the caterpillar, because I know that the legs are going to come over here, so it's okay if you see where I stop. And then I can do this part, and then I can do this part. Now this one, I'll draw sideways because it'll be easier for me to do this S in one stroke by pulling the pen towards me. The same way with drawing. It'll be easier, even doing the pencil part, if you use your whole arm. And then I can do the bottom here, and it continues over here. Then I can draw the skirt, because remember, I've already drawn most of it, so I'm just putting the ink on. Usually it's harder to push your pen than it is to pull it, so I'm going to match these little lines and then like make some lines and some dots. I just like how it looks. And you can change it as you're drawing. Then this one is going to come through, but remember we have this lantern coming out, so we need to draw that first so we don't go around it, and then we can put this little plate, maybe make it look like that. Then we can finish the rest of the mushroom. And on this side, again, I'm going to pull my arm like that. And I could draw this, but because I have to put my hand over it, I should draw this side first. So maybe I'll start at the top, because once again, I can pull my hand down and just do one long stroke. And if I were going to color it, see, I'll just make an extra stem. I didn't do that when I first drew it, because it was more of a guideline. Now I can fix this line that's kind of wiggly, and I can just make it smooth. And I'm pulling my hand down in one stroke, so it's easier to pull it down. I can do this one. And I can alter it. I don't have to follow my pencil lines. I can change it as I draw. That's perfectly okay. And these little flowers came down. There was a circle. They came down on the two sides like that. And then they had the stamens. I think I will make that one a little longer. That's how those went. The lantern, it also had a ball, an upside down U, basically a little rectangle with a little curve on it, a C on the other side, a little rectangle. Sometimes it is helpful to think of letters of the alphabet or numbers, and a U for the bottom. Then we have the candle and an upside down teardrop, the little light marks, and some light marks outside too. If you were going to color this, you could make it dark behind it. You could put stars in. That would be fun. We could go ahead and do the door. So here's our big upside down U, and a smaller one inside that makes the door frame. And I'm not trying to make it straight. Wood pieces are never perfect. Then we'll do the little window. It's an upside down U. We have a lot of upside down U's in this. I'm just drawing on this tabletop. It's a little bumpy, but that's okay. It makes it look more rustic. I'll do the little switch plate and the little handle coming out. Maybe I'll put a little ball on it. I'll put the keyhole. And then, because I want these boards, I don't want them perfectly straight, so I'll let them be a little bit wiggly, because they're boards, so they're not going to be perfect. And usually that line that you see is the shadow between the boards. Okay, then we're down to the doorstep, and we can't see it all. Remember, these leaves are covering it, so before I draw it all, I'll put the leaves in so I remember that they're covering the bottom of the door. There's a little bit showing of the mushroom. This is the bottom of the doorstep and the bottom of the mushroom here. The walkway, we just made it be wavy, but I won't draw it all because I want to put these leaves in because they're going over the walkway. And maybe I'll have some more like this. And then I'll put the walkway here. And then I can put the rocks in. I'll finish this little flower because I'm here. It was maybe a forget-me-not. And I'll do this flower. And another thing that you might do with a simple flower like this is put another row of petals. You might have petals out here. Starts to look more like a chrysanthemum. And if you were coloring it, you want to make a stem. If you were coloring it, then you could use different colors on the same flower, which is also really fun. And maybe I'll do these leaves like this, just for something different. And how much time? We are at an hour already now, and so I think it's about time for me to stop. So I've really enjoyed drawing with you today, and I think you get the idea of how to put the ink on it and make the little details and add different things. I forgot that I always like to put, see, I'll put myself on again. You'll see me in the corner and with my glasses because this work is getting harder and harder as I get older. I like to have butterflies in my pictures, so I'm going to draw a quick butterfly, and I'm only going to draw it looking at the caterpillar. I think that would be fun. So I'll draw a little body, and it'll have legs too, and I'll draw the head, and they'll be looking at each other. So there's some antennas, and then I can draw a big wing here and a smaller wing behind it here. And then I'll draw some little marks for the body, and I think it's going to be happy. If you do things like that, you know, it can look cute. And then maybe it has some marks for its wings. Sometimes you don't have to draw that in. You can just leave it be plain. Maybe it has a little dot there, but that's fun later when you go to color it. And so now we have a drawing that has lots of things going on. Space to do more decorations. Maybe you just want a big polka dotted mushroom. Maybe you want this to look, maybe you want polka dots here or something else. And you can draw your sides and make it look like wood. And there's so much that you can do. And you're just using different elements and putting them together the way you want. Remember that if you want more ideas, you can look at Joanna Basford's pictures. These are just the little thumbnail sketches to get you started with ideas. And again, I'll show you the cover of her book. This is available for purchase, but you can look her up. She has lots of coloring books. This was the time to put out a book on how to draw her designs, but it's really nice that she shares these ideas with us. So once again, it was a pleasure. It was fun. I hope that you enjoyed yourselves, and I will be doing a watercolor class as well, so maybe you'd like to do that. These would be very fun to do on watercolor paper and then color them in. These would be great for book illustrations. Just remember, you want to make your own art when you actually are doing your own creations. Anyway, it's been really fun. I'm Tina, and I hope to see you again soon. And have a wonderful rest of your day, and stay safe, everyone. Okay, bye-bye.